So in this video I'm going to be analysing two players who Manchester United could sign this summer for probably a combined 35 to a maximum of £40 million, with one player being someone who could come into the United side as a starter and an upgrade on Maguire, being ideal for that central centre-back role, with the other being a young South American who could be his understudy, being given time to develop into a top-level centre-back. But who are those two players? Well, the starter would be Marseille's Leonardo Balerdi, and the understudy would be Rosario Central's Juan Jimenez, who has been linked with Manchester United recently as well. I'll start off with Balerdi and come on to Jimenez later on in the video. So why exactly do I think Balerdi is the perfect central centre-back for Amorim's back line, and why do I rate him so highly? Well, when I show you his FBref report in just a minute, you'll see how unique as a centre-back he is. But from the eye test, one thing you'll notice immediately is that aesthetically and technically, he's very reminiscent of Sergio Ramos, being a centre-back who is elite with the ball at his feet, whether this is threading midfield splitting passes into players between the lines in central positions, something that makes him perfect for a Roberto De Zerbi system, or even an Amorim system as well, while also being able to switch play out to the flanks with a pinpoint long pass, which is incredibly effective against a deep and compact defensive unit who instruct their wide midfielders to hold narrow positions in order to congest the centre of the pitch, but also his ability to drive into space when it's afforded to him. And I'm going to explain why this particular attribute is so important in just a minute, but before that, if you want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to jerseyfifa.co. They've got a variety of different current season and retro shirts, including this Andrei Shevchenko AC Milan shirt from the 99-2000 season, when Shevchenko scored 29 goals in 43 games, or this 09-10 David Villa Valencia shirt from his last season at the Mestalla before moving to Barcelona. If you use code Atlantis at checkout, you'll get a discount, so I'll leave it linked in the description and in the comments section below. So the big difference between a good ball-playing centre-back like Harry Maguire and an elite one like Balerdi comes down to the Argentine's ball-carrying and dribbling ability, as genuinely I don't know if there are too many better ball-playing centre-backs in world football at the moment, as Balerdi is so good at driving into space when the opposition stand off him, having the athleticism, physicality and close ball control to not just drive into space, but also dribble past players in central positions as well, and we can see how good he is at doing this when we look at his FBref report over the past 365 days. In terms of his passing, Balerdi's output is very impressive, being not just a high volume passer, but also a centre-back that's incredibly reliable as a passer as well, ranking in the low to mid 90th percentiles for the percentage of his short and medium passes that he completes, as well as around the 75th percentile for his long pass completion rate as well. For passes into the final third, he ranks in the 88th percentile, progressive passes the 72nd percentile, and the 66th percentile for his passes into the penalty area. And whilst these are still impressive rankings, I think if he was given more freedom as a libero at the centre of Amorim's back three in possession, these numbers could get even higher. But both from the eye test and statistically, it's Balerdi's ball carrying and dribbling that makes him so unique, and you can see this from his FBref report as he ranks in the 98th percentile for the amount of successful take-ons he's completed, the 91st for his carries into the penalty area, and the 77th for his carries into the final third. And so these attributes that Balerdi possesses would massively improve United's ability to both play out of pressure in the build-up phase and progress the ball into the final third from the middle third when up against a compact defensive shape. And in possession, the comparisons with Sergio Ramos are obvious, as technically Balerdi is fantastic, having the ball-playing ability of a central midfielder, being a competent penalty taker, and also being a goal-scoring threat when releasing long shots from around the box as well. But defensively, the Sergio Ramos comparisons are also clear, as Balerdi is very unique, just like Ramos, having the recovery pace to be able to play the role of a sweeper in a back three, shuttling across to put in a firm sliding tackle in order to stop the attack when the opposition get in behind United's back line, but also being a typical South American front foot defender, being confident and tenacious when pushing out of the back line to assertively jump in front of a forward to make an interception or aggressively put in a tackle, which is why I consider Balerdi a complete centre-back, not just in terms of his quality in possession and also his defensive attributes, but also being someone that could play as a covering centre-back or more as a stopper centre-back. And you can also see this from his FBref report, with Balerdi ranking in the high 90th percentiles for the amount of dribblers he has tackled and challenged, as well as the 95th percentile for the amount of interceptions he's made as well. And whilst the percentage of dribblers he has tackled is a lot lower, this is a trade-off that you probably have to make if you want such an aggressive front foot centre-back like Balerdi, which in an aggressive pressing system like Amorim's would be essential at the highest level to keeping the man-to-man press compact. He's also very physically and aerially dominant as well, as seen by the fact that he ranks in the 91st percentile for the percentage of aerial duels he has won. And so overall, I think Balerdi Balerdi is the perfect stylistic upgrade on Maguire, but how would he improve Amorim's system tactically, both in and out of possession? Well, I'll come on to that in just a bit, but let's first talk about Juan Jimenez. So back to Jimenez, and first of all, he's 18, 19 in April, has already played 20 times for Rosario Central in the Argentine Primera Division, and most excitingly has a contract that runs out at the end of the year, meaning that come the summer, he'd only have 6 months left on his contract, so we could probably get him on a free. And even if we did have to pay a transfer fee to sign him early or pay some compensation, it's most likely going to be a fee that is close to what we paid for Diego Leon, maybe between £2 to £4 million, depending on the add-ons. But forget his age, appearances and price, in terms of ability, from a stylistic point of view, I think he might be perfect for what Ruben Amorim would want in a central centre-back in his back three, playing the role of a libero. And I say this not just because of his on-the-ball ability, but also from a defensive point of view as well. But I'll start with his ball-playing ability, as that is his standout attribute from the eye test. He's a very good long passer from those deep central positions in the back three, able to get the ball out of his feet and clip a floated pass over the opposition's wide midfielder, out to the wide player on the flanks. And he's able to do this consistently throughout a match, almost without breaking stride. But not just that, he's also capable of playing through the centre, which as I've said before is hugely important, and his passing range and disguise technique does make it hard for opposition players to read where he's going to play the pass, as he can shape like he's going long out to the flanks before at the last second closing his hips on the ball and threading a midfield splitting pass between the lines. And so in possession he certainly is very similar to Harry Maguire, which would suggest that he would fit what Amorim wants in a central centre-back. However, defensively, obviously not at the moment, but potentially long term if he does develop right, I do think he could be an improvement on Maguire, as whilst he isn't rapid across the ground, he certainly isn't sluggish over short or longer distances, and can play quite comfortably in a high back line. And what really impressed me about him defensively was how good his reading of the game was, and how quick across the ground over shorter distances he can be, as in that central position in the back line he's very good at knowing when to drop off and move across to intercept a through ball, whilst also having that typical South American stopper defender style by jumping out of the back line to get in front of an opposition player and make an interception, which is something we do see from Harry Maguire as well. Although one advantage with Jimenez is that when he does push out of the back line, he's a lot quicker when he's having to turn and run back towards his own goal. So how would Leonardo Balerdi improve Ruben Amorim's system? Well, in possession in the build-up phase, rather than having a clunky central centre-back such as either Maguire or De Ligt pushing to the edge of the box, who you don't really want receiving the ball with their back to goal under immediate pressure, now United would have someone in Balerdi who can receive possession and either bounce the ball horizontally to one of the central midfielders or wide centre-backs, allowing United to play around the frontline pressers, simultaneously drawing in the midfield line pressers, allowing United to then look to split the midfield and work the ball in behind them. But with Balerdi you could also drop him deeper in the back three, where rather than receiving the ball with his back to goal, he can now receive the ball facing forward and either look to play an incisive pass, splitting the midfield line himself, or if the opposition choose to sit off him and cut passing lanes ahead, Balerdi has the ability to efficiently carry the ball into space and even dribble past pressing players, progressing the ball forward on his own. And he's capable of doing this in the middle third as well, either from a central position in the back three or in one of the wide centre-back positions, having the passing range to switch play with a long direct pass out to the flanks or even releasing a runner in behind the back line. Out of possession as well, Balerdi would be hugely valuable in pressing situations, either centrally or in a wide centre-back position, able to jump out of the back line and aggressively assert pressure to a player receiving the ball with his back to goal, as we see from Lisandro Martinez, or jumping in front of them to make an interception. He's also comfortable playing a sweeper role centrally, using his pace to move across to sweep up passes in behind, as well as being astute when getting dragged out wide and having to defend in 1v1 situations in the channel. And so all round, having Balerdi significantly improves Amorim's offensive and possession systems, either in a central centre-back or a wide centre-back role. So overall, I think Leonardo Balerdi for between £30 to £35 million and Juan Jimenez for under about £4 million would be the perfect duo for United to sign for that central centre-back position. Balerdi would come in as the starting centre-back and Juan Jimenez would probably go out on loan, preferably to somewhere in Europe, maybe somewhere like Benfica, Porto or Sporting Lisbon, before then coming back to replace Harry Maguire next season as the understudy to Balerdi in that central centre-back role. So let me know what you think of Balerdi and Juan Jimenez, and if you do want to pick up any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to jerseyfifa.co. You can use code Atlantis at checkout for a 10% discount. I'll leave a link in the description and comment section below, and if you do want to sign up to my Patreon to read my articles or to get access to the in-game Instagram group chat, chat. I'll leave that linked on the end screen now as well.